Hi, good morning. I was just curious, since there's so much of Peter Pan out there, and it's kind of hard to avoid it growing up or being anywhere, how did you, like, what did you use for inspiration to try to make your characters unique, to try to make sure that we weren't going through the same thing again, that you brought something totally different?
I think we were already given that with a very unique script. It was a very different take on it, because it was a prequel to Peter Pan, so you're already telling a different story. But for me, it's a new character, so I had a massive scope of choice of emotions and characteristics as to what to give her. There's no Wendy, so that makes it different from the start. I don't know what.
No, I tried to avoid watching all, like, you know, Hook and all that before getting the part. I just tried to talk to Nick, because I think Nick Willing is Peter Pan, really. So I just tried to involve him into my part, because I think he's still a child. If you meet him, he is a complete child, and it's his little baby, this film, and so I just tried to involve him as much as I can into the parts I was doing, and yeah, so my part's basically just Nick, really.
Good morning. This question is for Rhys. I've always felt personally that Hook is kind of a one-dimensional character. You gave him a lot more depth, and I didn't think your approach was going from a good man to an evil man. It was more like a descent into madness. Would you say that was your approach?
Yes, absolutely. And I think the question of eternal life, and I've had to think about it, it is maddening. But with that madness comes a freedom, you know, but that freedom eventually corrupts, I think. You know, and it is a descent into madness. You're right, and I'm glad you noticed that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks so much for talking about this. I'm curious, everybody looks at Peter Pan as a family type of story. How would you say that Neverland will resonate with viewers?
Well, it is a family. The original is very much a family story, and you know, there are kind of dark adult themes, and I think that's the appeal of the novel and the prequel, that it engages all ages. You know, there's questions of, you know, father, son, you know, there are kind of Jungian, Freudian, sexual questions, you know, so you know, there's many kind of emotional threads and dynamics that appeal to all ages, and particularly with Neverland. You know, when we read the novel, Hook and Peter are already embedded in Neverland. So I think what gives us an added connection to Neverland is that we see them as, albeit in another time, but we see them as you know, human beings who live in a world where you eventually die. So we see what the wonder of somewhere in Neverland, somewhere like Neverland, does to the psyche. And in Peter's case, it makes him good, and in my case, it makes me very, very bad.
In my case, it gives me evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Bonnie is an interesting character because she actually has a whole different, she comes from a different time, and has a different need and agenda, and into her life comes this kind of like new, it's like when you've lived with the same people for a long, long time, and all of a sudden here come these new people to play with.
Well, she's also the only woman around as well. For 120 years, she's not had any other female company. So when Hook arrives, it's fresh, new blood, and someone who can bring her knowledge from another world.
Right.
I think she's learned very manipulatively to learn her female, the power of her female prowess, and how to use and abuse that.
And it is interesting the way that she comes between the father-son. It is this very kind of classic story of the woman that comes into a boy's father's life and what that does to that dynamic.
Yeah. I love the dark underbelly of the story. I think it makes it very available for both children and adults.
Yes.
I got both views from my daughter and from my mother and father, and they enjoyed it for totally different reasons. I think that's why it's so appealing, because it appeal to such a wide and varied audience.
And it also, that was interesting what you said, that it has that kind of stepmother theme as well, which is, which runs through so many fairy tales. And I think another exciting kind of dynamic in the narrative is that we as humans in Neverland are the aliens. Right. So Bonnie is essentially visited by a superior technological species, which again, is a theme that runs through certainly a lot of sci-fi.
That's true. There's a little alien in there too. Any other questions? Okay, these guys will be down here for. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss someone? Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry.
Obviously, Neverland is a prequel to Peter Pan. We've had that in the past with Star Wars. They're doing it with Lord of the Rings. What do you think makes movies like that work and so appealing to the audience?
Because the story's so good to start with. You want to know what happened beforehand. That's the only way you can stop them doing sequel after sequel after sequel. I think we're intrigued by what happened before the story even started. And it seems to have been a formula that's worked thus far. In particular with a story like Neverland, it's never been done before. Why can Peter Pan fly? Why is there eternal life? Why do you never grow old?
Yeah.
It's kind of like an age-old vampire story in a way.
And every kid in the world is growing up with these unbelievable stories, and everyone has their own different idea of why and how they got there, and that's why I think it's great that we've got all these different ones like Wicked and now Neverland coming up, because it's basically someone's complete imagination. Everyone's got a different idea of why they're there.
Great. Oh, one more back, way in the back.
Good morning. I have a couple of quick questions. First off, the scenery looks beautiful. I know a lot of it was shot on chroma key, green screen, that type of thing. But can you go into the locations of the shoot? How long it took to shoot? How many people were involved in the whole process for this series?
We started off in Italy. And that was the most exciting part of the shoot for me. Was it you? We shot on a real boat.
I'd been there for ages as well. That did like a film about pirates in like the 1800s as well, 1900s.
Yeah, wasn't it Polanski's?
Yeah.
Pirates that used it for that, and it still sits. And we didn't obviously take it out to sea. It was moored, but it was spectacular to look at. Yeah. Disguising the motorway with green screens. But I loved that. We were in Genoa, Italy, and then Ireland for the rest of it.
Yeah.
So two really remarkable locations with fantastic crews.
A lot of the exteriors were, such as the Indian reservation, where the Indian lands were shot in Parkland in Ireland. The London stuff, the exterior stuff, was shot in Dublin, which is a lot of Georgian architecture, which would have suited. And then Neverland, ironically, was filmed in a disused toilet paper warehouse, just outside Dublin.
That's so romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what you could do with computers nowadays, eh?
I would say that there is probably a visual effects or enhancement in almost every single shot of this miniseries. It is really quite extraordinary. Okay, well, thank you very much. These guys will be down here for the next 10 minutes or so to talk to you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, pleasure.